Hi, my name is Angela Peters. I've worked at Northwood and Pinner Liberal Synagogue for 2 years as their care coordinator. We are a very large synagogue. We have 2 full-time rabbis and we have over 1,000 adult members. I'm hoping that this presentation will inspire you and give you an idea of how to set up a care team and how that can benefit your community. But you will need to take into account that every community is a different size, has different resources available to them. I'm going to look at how our care team is actually set up. The care team are all members of the synagogue. When they show an interest in joining the care team, I meet with the volunteer and we actually have to go through a whole application process. First of all, I talk to them about the role of a member working in the care team. Then we sit down and we complete an application form. And the purpose of this application form is to find out what skills or qualifications the volunteer may possess which might be useful in their work as an MPLS volunteer. There are many different areas of work because some of the care team prefer working with older people, or they may prefer to work with the younger members of the community. Some of the care team drive, some don't drive, some drive but will only drive locally. Others are happy to help with shopping, and others are only interested in helping at the events. Also, we have one member of the care team who has been trained in filling out forms, such as attendance allowance forms, or perhaps one of our members wishes to apply for a taxi card, because these forms can be quite complicated to complete and need a tremendous amount of patience. The care team members also may be interested in befriending our members of the synagogue. So there's quite a variety of different areas which they may want to become involved in. Also, it's quite important to find out if the member is happy to visit a house where there's animals, because it's possible that they do have an allergy to dogs or cats, which has happened in the past. And the other thing that's very important is that I always obtain 2 references. They have to go through a disclosure check, and once all these checks are in place, I then meet with the volunteer again and we talk about safeguarding issues and communication skills. We also talk about personal safety, the necessity to carry a mobile telephone when they visit people in their homes, not to enter the house or flat at all if the appropriate person is not available, and that if they feel threatened or in danger at any time, then they must leave the premises immediately. We also talk about guidelines for calling up members and give some ideas of how to make that first call. And I always suggest openings and questions because it can be quite difficult to make conversation. We do have a safeguarding policy, and this policy can actually be found on the website under resources. So you may find this useful. It talks about the different types of abuse that can occur, and it also makes it very clear that if a volunteer is concerned that there might be some type of abuse happening, that they need to make sure that they contact myself as the care coordinator and flag up any concerns, because it's always possible that I have had other concerns about that member, and it's like adding things to a basket, and then I myself have a line manager, and then overall the chairman has responsibility of the whole congregation. Let's look at the role of the MPLS care team and just think about the support that they offer the community. They befriend members of the community, as some of our members might be quite isolated or vulnerable or in need. They also keep in regular contact with our members by visiting them at home, or perhaps visiting them in care homes, or just by maintaining telephone contact. But we do actually keep in contact with every single member of our synagogue who is over the age 80. We find that the best way to do that is to run events twice a year, and this gives us an opportunity and a reason to make contact with the member, because it can be very difficult just to do cold calling. And if there's a purpose to the telephone conversation, it's a very good way of initiating conversation and finding out whether the person that is being phoned is perhaps got emotional or practical problems or has not been well. The care team offer transport. They offer transport to all the events that we put on at NPLS, but as well, some of our members sometimes need lifts to hospital or to doctor's appointments, and also they may need help just getting out to the shops. Some of the help that we offer is quite diverse. For example, we now find that some of our elder members are really struggling with using computers, so one of the care team goes round to their homes and is helping them set up their iPads or their laptops so that they will be able to benefit from things like online shopping, which will make it much easier for them when the weather turns cold and they struggle to get out, or if they have mobility problems.
Ready?
Every year, the care team put on special projects and events. As I've already mentioned, we host a concert twice a year, and we also supply lunch. We have entertainment, and this is provided at Hanukkah time by the children from Claude Shalom's school. We usually find that the year 6 children come who are aged 10 to 11, and then in the summer the children from JCOS, the Jewish Community Secondary School, come to entertain. The event is very popular indeed. We usually find that we're catering for approximately 100 people, and it really is an unequivocal success. It's a lovely environment because the tables are laid beautifully and they're nicely decorated. We have balloons, we have the live entertainment, and the most important thing is that the members who attend the event actually have lunch with the children, and they have a chance to talk and communicate with them, which I think is usually the highlight of the event. We try to find a way of making contact with parents who have teenagers. So we have a psychotherapist who twice a year runs a workshop on a Shabbat morning, which gives the parents a chance to discuss behavioural problems they may have, or just to talk about being a parent of a teenager. These workshops have proved to be quite successful, and the last one that we held probably had about 25 to 30 people attending. The care team is involved in running the blood donation days. These take place 3 times a year with Northwood United Synagogue, and the role of the care team at the blood donation day is to help with refreshments and just to be the welcoming face of the community. We have a tremendous number of people attending. The blood transfusion service usually have 9 beds, and people make appointments, and we usually have about over 100 people donating blood each time. At Sukkot, we take round parcels to the most elderly and frail members of the community. Some of them receive flowers and others get little parcels of cakes, biscuits and chocolates. But actually this year we're going to try doing something different, and I think we're going to take flowers round to every member because they seem to be far more gratefully received, because nobody seems to want to be eating chocolates anymore these days. Also, we're very fortunate that the Fastenage Memorial Trust provide food hampers for some of our members. They ask us to identify the numbers of people who may be struggling or in need, could be from any age group, and they donate these food hampers, and they're actually very substantial, and it's usually the guys who have to deliver them because they are quite heavy. We do have to remove some of the items though, which are just not appropriate for our members. We run a monthly singing group, and this was established about 6 months ago, and we were very fortunate that a professional performer, Judith Silver, started off the group for us. It's continued to be very successful. We have about 25 people turning up every month of all sorts of ages, as it's open to everybody. We start off with tea and biscuits and a warm chat, and then we get drawn into the circle and everybody has a chance to warm up their voices, and then we do some singing. The group learns new tunes but sings lots of familiar old songs, and we also have compiled a songbook, so we have requests in the songbook which has been devised especially for the group. Everyone who attends enjoys the communal sing-along, as it's a very relaxed environment and it really is a lively, fun morning. And I think that everyone who leaves there has a smile on their face, humming a tune. What was really lovely in the last session was that we were singing the song Ma Tovu, and Judith translated the words into English for us, and there are words in there that says brothers and sisters, and one of the members of the group said, "This is exactly what it's like in our group. We're all like brothers and sisters." The other lovely thing is that we have instruments, so that we accompany the singing with percussion instruments, and we've actually got one member of the group who brings all his own instruments, as he used to be very involved with percussion. I think it works or not?
Yeah, I thought it was really nice actually. It's
It
nice.
did have
Yeah,
it was
yeah, I
sweet.
think it's good. I think
Sweet.
it adds.
Okay, that's that one.
The next
No,
is the dog one.
My favourite one.
I think you can mention that, but which you also mentioned in when we did the seminar about that. You know, it's not, you can't just bring in a dog. You know, they have to be assessed. You know, it's not just like, oh, let's take the dog along.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say. Okay.
Yep.
It's medically recognised that dogs are therapeutic for the elderly, disabled, as well as disadvantaged children and those with special needs, autism and dementia. And we're very proud to have our own 2 pets therapy dogs at NPLS. One of our members went into a care home and she was always very devoted to her animals. So we were trying to devise a way that we could actually visit her in the care home with a pet, because we thought it would be a way to initiate conversation and for her to express the way that she was feeling. However, it's not possible to just take a pet into a care home. The pet actually has to be assessed. So one of our care team members, who has 2 terrier dogs, approached the organisation called Pets as Therapy, and her dogs had to go through an examination process. We're very proud that they passed with flying colours, and now every 2 weeks, one dog at a time is taken into the care home to meet with our member, but also with everybody else who is on her floor. The visits really are an overwhelming success. We use other organisations to help us in our work, such as Jewish Care and JAMIE, which stands for the Jewish Association for Mental Illness, as well as an organisation called Resource, the Jewish Employment Advice Centre. The care team also receive annual professional training. Our last training session was run by Jewish Care, and it covered the areas of boundaries, safeguarding and befriending. Boundaries are always so difficult to maintain, and we had an interesting discussion about whether or not members of the care team should be giving out their telephone numbers to those people that they befriend. Our next training session is going to be run again by Jewish Care, and they will be covering the topic of dementia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take a moment. Ready?
Yeah. Okay, it's always interesting to look at what has worked well and what hasn't. One of the positive things has been that we have continued to put on events which reach out to the whole community, and they've turned out to be very successful because it's a way of keeping in contact with as many people as we can. Also, the care team has expanded and we now have 18 members, and shortly we'll be welcoming 1 or 2 new members to our care team. One of the things that hasn't worked so well has been the care freezer. We used to have food in a separate freezer which was available to be taken round to somebody who may have just been discharged from hospital. However, what we were finding was that there were health and safety issues. Firstly, freezers need to have a thermometer, and that thermometer needs to be regularly checked. And secondly, the food can't stay for too long a time in the freezer, otherwise it's no longer safe, neither is it nutritious. So we decided to stop having food available for our members. However, after having had a break of about 6 months, the care team feels that we do need to start having food available again, but what we need to do is rethink how we're going to do it. So we are going to be doing it differently, but you'll have to watch this space because at the moment we haven't decided the best way. Together with the care team, we always continue to think about new ideas which will benefit our own members and also reach out to the wider Jewish community. I hope this has been helpful, and remember, be inspired and do what works for you and your synagogue.